First one says, what was your lifestyle about during the time period? Like, tell me about the house you lived in as a child.
The house I lived in as a child? Well, for the first 10 years, I lived in an old house that had no basement, no foundation. It was just on logs that sat on the ground.
Those are flowers on it.
But in the wintertime, the floors were ice cold.
Oh, all
There
right.
was no running water, no central heating. We had a pump outside and a dipper in the bucket that we drank from. And one day we were gone and came home and they'd run out of fuel oil or something, so the house was cold and the water in the bucket was frozen. You couldn't even get a drink.
But yeah, if you earn it, they should give
We
it to
had
you.
no TV. My Saturday afternoons, I listened to the radio.
Alright. What was some of your playtime activities as a child?
Aaron,
As a child, mostly
do they want dessert?
I'd ride my bike, and the road in front of our house was gravel at the time, so I would ride my bike up about half a mile or something, and then there was pavement. I could ride back and forth on the pavement, which was so much nicer than riding on a gravel road.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me what you did.
Mom, did you tell him yesterday?
What were some of the slang
I saw the
expressions you
picture.
used as you grew
Tell me
up?
how you made it.
What do
Slang
you think it was made of?
Tissue.
What's for dessert?
Listen,
So,
Ellen is talking to me.
well,
Stay here.
I forgot my
I
tie at home,
don't think I can really come up with anything on that
and
one.
Alright. What was your favorite entertainment then?
well,
Favorite entertainment?
I blew my nose,
Listening
and then
to
I had it folded.
Badger football on the radio. I'd listen to them and I'd try to imagine where they were on the field and what they were doing. And
Never in a triangle.
Nice.
So it was like,
A rectangle?
yeah, and
Oh, this one
so it
says,
was
were
like,
you
and
happy?
I
Why or
hit
why
the
not?
middle. And I
was I happy as a kid?
I realized I'm not gonna attack.
I didn't know any
How'd you
different.
attach it to your collar?
Well,
I
You
had-
wore a snotty tissue as a tie?
You used
I
to
had
play
some
with.
neighbors
no, it was yellow.
that
Um,
they had 9 kids, and I just fit into an
Did you
Well,
just tuck it
open
in
slot
your collar?
between 2 boys.
so I
and
wrapped
so I had
around a strip
Around
of
the
tissue
Just to play
around the
with.
middle,
Okay.
and I'm like, I'm not gonna what's that it is. I unwrapped it.
just fit into their
I got the
family.
rest of the tissue that I tore apart. It wasn't very torn. It was only that one strip that I tore apart.
It says, what is your favorite experience? What is your favorite experience?
I put
My favorite
that
experience
over
as a
the
kid.
part that I had halfway wrapped. I wrapped it over again, and I just
That's pretty cool.
it only went up to like right here.
My dad was in what was known as the district presidency back then, so we got to travel all over northern Wisconsin and upper Michigan. And so
Wardale's will switch us there April 21st.
furthest we went north was we saw Lake Superior one day.
I'm asking if they want to switch
I
Mondays
like the
too, so
Great
they don't have to
Lakes.
remember to. Okay.
They were my ocean because I couldn't see the other side.
Did you ever go out on the lakes and do anything?
Well, I swam in them,
I'll be here. I'll be there.
never went out in a boat or anything.
Alright. How did your family celebrate holidays, like Thanksgiving and Christmas? Stuff like that?
My parents were, I guess, loners. We never had anybody over for dinner. It was just my mom, my dad, and I. That was it. And there was nothing special for holidays or anything, just another day. My dad probably worked most holidays.
What did you do?
He worked in the timber industry.
Michelle, I have, sugar-free popsicles if you'd rather. Okay.
So,
I've got more.
he never made a lot of money. We weren't rich or anything.
You want one of those?
Okay.
We got more.
What are they?
Root beer push-up.
Sure.
That's good.
Did you want one, Dave?
I know how to do very cool stuff.
Ooh, education. This sounds fun.
Was that a no?
Yeah.
What was your school like? Just for high school, all that.
No, that mom actually
I would have gone to the same one-room
Mike told me, I
school
know why root beer
that my
floats are so
parents
good
did,
with vanilla ice cream.
except
Because I
they
have no
finished a new school
Root beer's
in
made
a neighboring
Don't put it on
town,
my
Keep
piano.
that up, yeah.
and then they started transporting us
Actually,
all
I've
up
known for a
there.
long time. And it said,
Mom, look at this.
So I was on,
Dad, you're that
It's
far?
as a first grader, I was on the school bus at 7 in the morning and
Okay.
got home
Wanna
at
play video
5 at night.
It's fun. What can you do, joke?
That's even longer than ours because we go from 7:30 to 15. That's right.
Tell
It's
me
not
a
that
joke.
long. So
Yeah, this was, as a first
Tell me-
grader, I spent
Oh, Aaron,
an
tell me a
hour on
joke.
the bus each way.
My dad has.
What?
Tell me. My dad has almost the exact. Tell me a
crazy.
joke.
What do you have?
Yes, I.
we do for like,
Except first.
how do you study?
Manage what?
Study history,
Yours is
English,
over there.
math,
Oh,
stuff like that.
so they're not quite the same.
Tell me a joke.
When I was in the school, I mean, I could, never had to study too much because
Tell
I
me a
could
joke.
remember what the teacher said, and if I could read it, I could retain it. And studying was easy.
Sounds like
Joke.
me too. If I just paid attention in class, I did pretty well on all the
Do
tests.
a joke.
Me too. I didn't study at all
Really?
until I got to college, and
Uh,
only then a little
Oh,
Maybe.
level 2.
I didn't even have to study.
Tell me
when
a
I
joke.
went to
Were there any
USC.
classes that were like definitely like
Because it tells me
Wisconsin
what you that I
classes?
actually
Like,
had to really study and read everything.
probably wouldn't find that
Yeah,
anywhere else.
that's just because my teachers didn't cover everything
Tell me
in
a
class.
joke.
They're like, study this, and I'm like, fine.
Y'all can read.
Then I'll have to study.
When I was a senior in high school, my
Tell me a
principal
joke.
pulled me aside and said, "I hear you're planning on going to college." I said, "Yeah." He says,
That's stupid.
"Well, I would really,
Hear this joke.
he said,
Why can't cats
If you're
work
gonna
on
go-
computers?
go to a junior college. Don't go to a,
Any guesses?
regular college." Says,
They get distracted
our high school
and start
just doesn't
chasing mouse.
prepare you for things like that.
Dad had a cat called Pixel. Because it liked
And-
to stay by the computer.
So, you know, he
Tell me a
said
joke.
the
But then
purpose
Cat
of their
Pixel decided to play with a
school
bat and
was
tried
to-
play cat.
was to teach
Guys,
future farmers and future
two farmers
homemakers
walked into a bar.
what
The
to
younger one got
Yeah,
SIM
so
card.
she was exactly-
Got SIM card.
Is there anything that like
and
really
had-
drove you to like go to college? Like, besides just like wanting to learn.
Well, my dad always said, "You got to get a good education," and
Tell me a joke.
he wasn't able
Michael,
to.
tell me a joke.
When he was young,
Dry erase board,
boys went to the 8th grade
That's
and
what
then
it
they
says.
worked
Dad,
on the
I said, tell
farm.
me a joke. Dry erase board, sorry, board.
My mother went
Dry erase.
to high school,
Tell
but
me a joke.
she had to move away from home, board at a house in
Where
the
did
city
you
where
keep
the
your
high
photo
school
albums?
was, because there was no transportation
I don't know,
back and
shelfies.
forth.
Shelf eyes. What? I don't know. On your
But-
shelf.
I was
Tell me a joke.
determined from the time I was maybe 10 or 12 years old that I wanted
Tell
to be
me
a
a joke.
chemist. I never wanted to be a fireman or baker or Indian chief. I wanted to be a chemist.
What did the detective's smartphone say when it fell on the ground?
You came
I'll
to
take
BYU, right?
this.
Did you go to any other? Was there?
Well, I started at the
Oh,
University of
and-
Wisconsin in Milwaukee
What's a joke?
because
What's
I
a
got a
joke?
$500 scholarship to go to a Wisconsin school.
Tell me a joke.
And at the time,
What's it, level 3?
that paid for tuition and books and a little extra
What do you call two surgeons
for the whole year.
working together, Alex? No. An
Crazy.
operating system.
My tuition, my first year, my tuition was $162 a semester.
Wow. That would be awesome.
Yeah, $500 wouldn't pay for one credit class for a semester.
What is it called when one S8 talks to another S8?
$800 a piece.
Intergalactic communication.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Knock, knock.
Then I took 1 year of college and went on my mission and then
Do you hear it?
worked for like 3 years.
Knock, knock.
And I wanted to go back to school, but I needed money because
Knock, knock.
my parents couldn't help or anything, so I
Knock,
worked for
knock,
several years, and then one of my friends and I decided, hey, let's go to BYU.
Happy birthday.
That was the place to go. I mean, you're a Mormon kid, you go to BYU.
Eat a digital cake.
Michael move.
Let's see. What do you
Hi.
remember about
Hi.
like the World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, or Persian
Hi.
Gulf?
He was a draft
Hi.
dodger.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
Hi.
I would have
You're on
been
the speaker?
eligible for the
Hi,
Vietnam
Michael.
War,
The volume's turned down.
but I had
Oh, this is weird.
worked with my dad and I cut this knee open with a chainsaw.
I am the walrus.
So
I am the walrus.
I went in
Daddy Bob, go down
to the
Bob.
draft board once and they,
Can I do this?
you know, I told them I had a bad knee and they said, oh yeah, we've heard that before. So the guy took me into the back room and said, looked at my knee and he flexed it this way and that way and he said, it's not supposed to go that way. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you have a bad knee.
Yeah,
They're
so
like, I'm honest.
I had a bad knee and then I went to Canada on my mission to be a draft dodger. I was there from 67 to 69, which was right
Do you know
in the
what that
middle of
song
the
is?
Vietnam War. Then when I came home, I still
Michael.
had the bad knee, and then my draft lottery number was 362.
Is that a good number?
Yeah. Out of 365, 362 is pretty good. Because they started at number 1, they worked up from number 1, and they drafted people with the low lottery numbers, but you know, mine was excellent, 362 out of 365. You know. So I never got called in for the draft, but they wouldn't have taken me anyway because of my knee. But I had several of the kids I went to school with came back in a box from the Vietnam War. So I'm glad I didn't have to go.
So that chainsaw was kind of a blessing,
Yeah,
even though you didn't think so at the time.
I still don't think so, but
Or if the I can't talk. Persian Gulf War. Any stories from that?
Gulf War, I was too old for that.
That was like the early 90s, right? Yeah.
I was already married with kids. And
Yeah.
What did you think about it? Did you have any opinions about it?
opinions?
Yeah, did you smoke weed and run around with your shirt off in college to
He married a hippie chick.
Protest?
protest the Vietnam War?
No, I didn't do any protesting.
No, he just fled to Canada.
Yeah. I went to Canada for a couple of years. Met a lot of guys up there who were draft dodgers.
You're like, oh. Which president that was alive during your lifetime do you think was the best?
Reagan.
Reagan? That's what I figured.
You mean that actor?
Yeah.
What was the one that had the 19% house? What you said when you got your first house, it was like 19% interest or something?
Yeah, we bought our house.
Carter? Was that Carter? Yeah, Carter.
We bought it right after the Carter administration, and the interest on our home loan was 17.5%. It's like buying a house on a credit card.
That's crazy.
Liz,
And-
we have 5% interest on it. 4% interest.
And ours is 3.875.
17
That's a lot
and
different than 17.5.
a little
But
bit.
after the first year, we refinanced down to 12%.
Oh.
Nice.
What made Reagan so good, Dad? Everybody says Reagan, so I'm just wondering.
He wasn't Carter.
Yeah, he followed Carter, so
It's raining tacos.
he was a breath of fresh air after Carter.
Did some stuff right. Did some stuff right then.
Jimmy Carter was an actor?
As far as I'm
Ronald
concerned, he
Reagan was
did
an actor.
everything right.
Yeah, every Republican idolizes Reagan.
Mm,
I don't know, I thought he was good, but I didn't know any better either. I was a kid.
No, trying to be in there.
I like Carter because he was the president when I was born and he grew peanuts. That's all I know.
Yeah, he should have stayed on the farm.
Else has which was the worst president.
The
They
worst
keep getting
president,
worse.
probably Carter.
Really? He's worse than Trump?
Trump just says stupid things. He actually does stupid things.
Yeah.
He says stupid
He hires smart people to run the country pretty much.
Trump needs someone to take away his Twitter.
Yeah, if he didn't
Take away
tweet,
his cell
He needs
phone.
parental control. R2.
people wouldn't know how stupid he is.
He didn't have 19% interest on home loans.
Yeah. 17.5. Come on, give him a break.
Still.
Hey, where'd you see what green on your phone?
because Reagan.
How did changing technology change your life? Internet and other things like that.
Indexing is a lot faster.
Well, let's put it this way.
I hit him 3 times.
When I was
Yeah, that's easy.
all through
No, it was
my higher grades in grade school and high school, I used the slide rule. And then when I got to be, I guess in my sophomore year in college, I got a handheld calculator.
a handheld calculator?
Yeah,
Those are so
that
fancy.
had 7 functions.
7 functions?
Yeah.
That was really cool after that
Whoa.
slide rule.
Add, subtract, multiply, divide, reciprocals, square roots.
I don't even
something else.
That's impressive.
Reciprocal is one of the dumbest things it can be. But then,
Why does he look greener than when you started?
yeah, we had a family meeting when, in, I think it was 91, to decide whether we wanted to buy a family computer. And I've still got,
It depends on how you're connecting to
we
it.
still got the receipt
don't
from
know.
it.
I just wanted to
A
add that
simple
email
family
to-
computer that
Okay.
is far,
I just wanted to add my
the
email to my.
smartphones now would run circles
phone.
around our first family computer. And it cost us like $2,500. But it was a breakthrough.
I remember being in on the decision whether or not to buy a computer. I remember the
I remember that too, actually. I was like 4 or 5.
I don't give a choice and you have on it.
Yeah, more like,
I was still part of
Hey,
the family meeting.
Like, I don't know why I'm here.
some of our kids had Texas Instrument graphing calculators.
I had a graphing calculator. She has a graphing calculator. We had to buy her one.
I had 2 of them, but I don't know where they went. Dan borrowed one and never gave it back.
We had to buy one because when we found the old ones that Dave had or something, the batteries just couldn't be fixed.
Hmm.
We went to replace the batteries and they just were.
But now a smartphone has a calculator on it that's better than anything we had back then. It doesn't graph, but it's a better calculator.
There's an app for that.
Okay.
Daddy, it's fun. That one is funny. Sounds like,
We had one guy in the ward that was
Daddy, I like speeding this up.
put out on the ward webpage. Says, anybody know how to tune a mandolin?
I do. No, I don't.
And so I told him, I've got a granddaughter who has an app for tuning a ukulele. Should be about the same.
All you have to do is get a sharpener and make the laser sharper.
So he said, I followed your advice. It worked. He found an app for tuning a mandolin.
There's like stuff for just about anything you need. It's on the internet now.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I even found a necklace for Becky for Valentine's Day that said something I've been telling her for years.
What?
No. It
Thank you,
said,
dinner.
basically it says, if you could see yourself through my eyes, then you would know how much I love you and adore you. She's not impressed though.
I know, I heard it.
Stick on the floor. Are there any historical events that were like a really big impact on you?
Historical events, yeah, the discovery of fire.
Tell me more.
Oh, Dad,
Are you
I was gonna
recording
ask
this or
you.
something?
In the early 60s, I think, Ed Gein was in Wisconsin. Did you hear about that? How old were you?
Who's Ed Gein?
Serial killer.
Ed Gein.
Gein?
Yeah.
Oh, everybody says Gein, so.
Yeah, but the
Gein?
Wisconsiners say Gein.
Like, this is right.
But yeah, he was a creepy sort of guy. He'd
Did you
kill people and upholster his furniture with their skin and things like that.
have those? I was reading about it, and they said like a lot of children had like
Nightmares?
little songs kids make up about stuff. They had a lot of those songs about Ed Gein. Okay.
I don't know, he was just creepy as far as I was concerned.
How old were you?
Well, I don't remember, but I was probably a teenager about that time, in the 60s.
I don't know why the Cold War's not on this paper. It's right in
The Cold War, yeah.
there.
Wisconsin was part of that too.
It was cold in Wisconsin.
And they fought about it.
One of the senators from Wisconsin was a big anti-communist, Joe McCarthy.
Oh my gosh, he was from Wisconsin?
Yes,
Yep.
you didn't know that?
I knew that he was like a senator or something. I didn't know where he was from though. But McCarthyism is from him.
Yeah.
He has an ism named after him. He was terrible.
That was on a Star Trek we watched the other day. That was the one where,
Then 9/11 was certainly an eye-opener. I remember I was in Wyoming at the time, helping one of my friends with a project he was working on at a refinery up there, and I was in a hotel room and turned on the news one morning and saw what looked like a scene from a movie, you know, Tower Inferno or something, you know, and they're saying it's real. And I go, wait a minute, that can't be real.
Yeah, I was sitting on my bed in the basement of his parents' house with my little baby girl next to me. I'm like, what the crap have I brought her into?
Yeah.
And then a couple days later, I watched a movie called Volcano. And I thought that was real too. And I had to call Dave. Dave, the tar pits are on fire.
I was in world history, 8th grade.
What? The carpets are on fire. The carpets are? The carpets.
Yeah, they're like
The carpets are on fire.
historical events that happened that was like
Signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Well, I remember,
That was a real thing.
I remember being in high school when
How are you not hitting him?
Kennedy was shot, or 8th grade or high school. It was right at the
Oh, yeah,
time
my mom
of
was back when I was high school.
He's
Did you
doing
do?
good.
62, I think.
Yeah.
2, 3. But anyway, yeah,
Don't shoot him.
they broadcasted over the loudspeaker in the school, and
Why?
everybody was just shocked that a president would be assassinated, you know.
How long?
Yeah, but it turns out every few presidents that were assassinated.
Well, there was a curse on the presidency,
Yeah.
Reagan broke.
it was cursed like them by some Native American that they had that every president elected in a year ending
Because
this
it
year
wasn't actually
would
the
be
big guy.
assassinated. So you have like Lincoln in 1860, and like yeah, Kennedy, and then
I almost got here, but then Dad told me to get off and go there. Yeah, Daddy, I went down there.
Those are some of the things that stand
Hey,
out.
Dave.
Yeah.
It says that POP3 or IMAP access isn't turned on for this account. How do you turn it on?
Okay, then we got maybe it can be exchanged.
Just like some-
Get
You
that.
have to go onto the settings.
fun.
I tried
What
looking
did I
on
do for
settings
fun?
and I can't.
Well,
we
you have
were
to go
talking
on the
about
settings for the
assassinating
site.
presidents, and you're like, yeah, it's kind of
This
fun.
is your
Yeah.
What?
your Gmail thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. What's your favorite
Well, I
book
just
or
won't add it, I
story?
guess.
Favorite book or
Well,
story?
try doing it as a,
That middle one.
There's a book called the Arco volume, and the foreword and everything to it says, this was a guy who was a scholar and was able to get into the Vatican Library,
Don't go this way. This is where I'm not.
and they went through the Vatican Library looking
I
for
got trapped in there, and I couldn't.
things that mentioned Jesus
And I lost
Christ.
my focus already.
And
Wait, Daddy, see
one of my favorite things is an interview with Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. They interviewed them, asking them their impression of the Savior. And
No, I know.
they interview Lazarus, and he says, well, one of the things he remembered most about the Savior was
Well, it's
they
not-
would go off into the mountains and, just as boys would do. And he said, when they were off in the mountains, Lazarus always felt perfectly safe with the Savior because,
because he's the
wild animals would,
They respected him.
yeah. Snakes wouldn't hiss at him, the wolves wouldn't do anything. But says most of the animals would just come, just stay near the Savior to be stroked or something.
They also
And
felt safe.
why they changed that thing.
says the animals just wanted to be with him.
That was
And
weird at first.
when I was on my mission, the Spirit is strong with people who are on their missions if they're living right. And I was in Alaska, and this young couple had a farm, and he was the branch president too there, but they had a goose that was the guard goose, big gander stood about yay tall. And he would chase them. Yeah, they were the owners, but he would chase them, and they'd have to, they got out of their car, they'd have to run and get in the house before he caught them and things. And they were telling me how they were so afraid of this gander. So I thought, well, let's see how,
Ganders are the best
if
part.
he's really that
Whoa, Dad.
bad,
That was so cool.
So I was there with my companion one day, and I
And then
just
the ghost thing.
squatted down and coaxed him over to me, and he's looking at me, and he comes a little closer,
Wait, I just skipped that.
and I hold out my hand, and pretty soon I'm stroking the back of his neck, and he comes over, he climbs up on my lap.
This big giant goose.
Yeah,
Probably
big
not
goose
heavy.
on my lap. He has his neck under mine, just rubbing it, and I'm stroking it.
Wow.
And these people are dumbfounded.
You're like, I don't know what you're
How
talking
can
about.
you?
He's so sweet.
How can you do that? He won't let us near him. And I thought, well, that's the same spirit. The goose knows that I won't hurt him.
And the branch president didn't have that same feeling?
I don't
You
know.
approached it in a different way. Because you read that before you went, though, right?
No, I read it
Or
after.
oh, okay.
Yeah, but the two just seem to fit together.
It's different when you see something every day.
But that's that's what makes the book so special, the connection. And there are other parts in there where it talks about, people's impression of the Savior and things. So,
We'll have to check that out. I'll have to check that book out.
yeah,
Sounds so good.
it's called the Arco volume, ARKHO or something like ARCKHO.
I don't think there's an H in it.
At the grocery store.
Hmm?
I don't think there's an H in it.
Okay, right.
Something like
It's spelled weird, but I can't remember.
Alright. What's your favorite movie?
favorite movie.
Princess Bride?
Yeah, Princess Bride.
Yeah, that's way up there for sure.
Elizabeth.
How many times did we watch that movie when you were kids?
So much.
I don't know, but it was my favorite.
I'm pretty sure I
movie.
still have that movie
Jeff memorized it.
Yeah.
Liz knows a lot of the things from it, and her teachers were impressed that she knew that movie.
Impressed that she knew the movie?
Didn't you get some references from your teacher about Princess Bride or something?
I don't think so.
Or maybe it was a different movie. I don't know. I thought they.
Liz knows all the movies though. She memorized all of them.
Yeah,
I don't know. They like Princess
Oh, yeah.
it was almost annoying watching the movie with Jeff because he'd be quoting the movie before the people would quote it.
Like, I gotta, if you're gonna quote it, you gotta do it with them. That's fun. You have a favorite TV show?
Dharma and Greg.
Yeah, I liked Dharma and Greg. Just MASH was good. Watched a lot of that.
MacGyver.
You didn't like MacGyver.
I didn't like
Aw.
MacGyver.
I don't
Too
like the new
far
MacGyver.
fetched.
I know he's,
I'm trying to think of just old TV shows.
MacGyver is doing things like sticking gum on a gear or something and Dad's
Hawaii
like,
Five-O.
no way.
The old one.
Yeah, he pulls, or he makes a bomb out of a corn cob. You know?
You're like, I know the science behind me.
No.
It's like,
That's not what a
That's why
corn cob-
Grandpa
gonna
doesn't
check
like
out.
it. It's not
Yeah, it's
possible.
Corn cob bombs are the best kind of bombs.
if you dry it out, just set it on fire. It's gonna cause some damage.
Yeah,
What's your favorite food?
Favorite food?
Sauerkraut.
Oh,
Mashed potatoes and gravy.
anything Grandma makes.
that's what you do.
You have your spicy stuff, huh?
But there was one thing I made in the mission field that I like. I have to make it every once in a while. It's my own version of fried rice. And that was a staple that was saved the missionary in me, you know. It was something you could throw together quick,
No,
and
Was that the off button?
no.
it had good protein and starch and stuck with you.
Yeah, the volume button, you got- you
Looks to
go.
be pretty cheap too, more than on our
Hmm?
budget. Pretty cheap too, huh?
Yeah, a lot of rice and soy sauce and a little bit of meat. Yeah.
It's not terribly different from mine. Like, Alex, will get me some toilet paper.
Any other cool mission stories you have?
Cool mission stories.
They got giant crabs and peas as big as watermelons.
And turnips, they use as door stalks.
And a moose that looked
They
you right in the
remember.
eye.
I haven't heard
Uh,
that moose one.
in Homer, Alaska, we had this little cabin on the outskirts of town, halfway up the mountain. And one morning, I just finished washing the dishes and,
You had to do it in a pan.
yeah, dish pan.
That.
Carried the dish pan over to the back door, set it down, opened the door, went to throw out the dish pan of water. Here, about 5 feet away, there's a cow moose looking at me. Big old thing, you know.
Just daring you.
Yeah. But of course, my camera was down in the car, which was down at the bottom of the hill.
So you can't prove it, but
Yeah.
we believe it.
But I got pictures of the moose running away, and moose are funny.
And you're chasing it.
When moose are walking, they look okay. When they're running fast, they look okay. But when they're just trotting, it looks like their legs are going like this. Just,
That's funny.
It looked like the most uncoordinated thing. Then there was a time we went to this other missionary apartment and opened their refrigerator, and they had this beautiful big chunk of meat in there, and we started nibbling on it, and it wasn't too bad. Found out it was a big rodent, a beaver.
Oh, no.
You just pulled it out of the freezer and started nibbling on it?
No, it was in the refrigerator.
I'm assuming it was cooked.
Yeah, it was all cooked and everything, and look,
You said chunk of meat, I thought it was raw.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, yeah. Meat is never
it was
good.
beaver.
Why do you cook meat? I like sausage.
So Grandpa's eating beaver.
And we went, one time we went down to the crab boats in Homer and bought a king crab. And I've got a picture of myself holding it by two legs like this, and it's hanging down about that far, and
True king crab.
$1.50 for a king crab. And the legs sell for probably $12 a pound or something. And the whole crab was $1.50.
Michael, I want you to give that back.
And
You run with
the,
the
bi-
video
the
games.
crab
I'm gonna call
itself
Frank
is
with the
about
video
that
game.
big with just the body. And under
You
the
run
back of
yourself
the
in
shell,
place. Then when we
there's a chunk of meat that's
I wrote
about
it on
that
my
thick and
calendar.
about that big around. We bought that for 25 cents a pound. And that's the meat we ate in Alaska. 25 cents a pound for king crab.
You can't buy anything for 25 cents a pound.
Hamburger was $1 a pound at the time.
Crazy.
So,
Sitting there like drumsticks, which I might go down to the
No, there's a
easy
shell.
now.
Use the shell.
On a really good day, I'm usually gonna do it.
in that same place, we went fishing on the ocean. We caught some ocean-going trout that were not like that, you know, just the body without the tail. And beautiful pink meat. We cut it up and we made corn chowder out of it. Dolly Varden corn chowder. That was really good. And then there was the Christmas dinner. I ate glass.
Whoa.
We went over to this member's house for dinner, and I took salad out and put it on my plate and didn't think anything of it. And took a fork full of it and ate it, and all of a sudden chewing on something hard and crunchy and spit it out, and it's broken glass.
Goodness.
And looked in the bottom of their salad bowl, and there's a whole bottom was covered with broken glass in there.
Did they apologize or anything?
Yeah, they couldn't figure out how it got in there.
Must have been in there when she put the salad in.
Missionaries can eat stuff like that, and it doesn't affect it. It's in the scriptures.
But your daughter got that from you, and I tried to eat glass.
Why did you eat glass?
Because they gave me a glass cup, and I didn't know how to use it. Because I like to play with my plastic cups and hold them in my mouth.
Oh, what is this? It's clear.
It's
What
like
do you do with clear dishes? Eat it.
Yeah.
we had these little cups, and they have pictures of me holding it in my teeth like a pig nose.
And after you can
Hey.
You
Yeah.
missionary stories could go on all night. So.
Michael.
Alright. Any other experiences you want to tell me about? Any other experiences you want to tell me about? Or anything?
Experiences. Cutting my knee with a chainsaw.
When that happened?
You ruined your knee again by falling in a bowl.
Yeah. This knee I cut with a chainsaw. I was working with my dad one summer, and
Maybe you can't, but
I was cutting the trees down and falling them and cutting them into logs and things.
I already knew that.
And I knew how to get a chainsaw. You always cut down.
I knew it's up there.
You never use the top of the blade. You always use the bottom. But I was standing in a brush pile and cutting the limbs off the tree so I could cut it up into logs. And there was this one little limb on top of the tree, and I was cutting a limb on this side, and I thought, well, I can just clip that off with the top of the saw and go down to the other side again. And I just hit that limb, and the saw went boom, just snapped back, you know. And I thought,
Yes.
oh, that got awful close to my knee. I better look. Set the saw down and looked at my pants, and the big cut in my pants, and looked around. Oh, there was a slice in my knee about that long. Still got the scar from it. Then this knee, I was in college, married to Grandma, and she was watching me play softball and playing left field, and some other guy hits one, and it looks like an easy catch. All I have to do is turn to the right, go back about, 5-6 feet, easy catch. So I put this foot down, and then I pivot around so I can run back. Only I put this foot down, and it went into a hole side of a sprinkler head. And my body rotated around that, and my foot didn't move. So my knee just went, and I just went down in a heap right there.
Oh no.
Mom's like, no! Runs over to you.
I went to the student health center, and they said, oh, there's nothing wrong, it's fine.
Just rest it.
Rub
Just
some dirt in
rest
it. You're mad.
So a year later, I still can't run, I can't do anything. So I had a cousin who lived in Provo at the time, and her doctor was the BYU team doctor, and somehow I got the pioneer of arthroscopic surgery to work on my knee. I still don't know how we paid for it or anything, but
I don't know either.
But he went in and looked at it and talked to Becky and asked her whether I was considering being a pro athlete or not, and that depended on what he would do. And but basically, he just cleaned it up good and did what he could, put it back together, and
He did surgery on it.
yeah. But he opened it up, and if I would have been looking for a pro career or something,
He would have done more repair work.
yeah, he would have taken a ligament out of my leg somewhere and put it in my knee so that it would
Good
hold.
job.
But now that knee has been fully replaced in there, so. What other stories can we tell, honey?
Okay, how you guys met and stuff like that.
Hmm?
How you guys met on dates
Dance
and
class.
performed.
The first time I saw Grandma, we had both signed up for a social dance class. that was held in one of the big ballrooms at the Wilkinson Center. And I got there a little early for the class, and across the room I see this girl standing there. And I can't take my eyes off of her. She's like this vision.
I was surrounded by an aura,
Yeah, she
a glow.
just glowing over there, you know. She's standing there, you know, and it's just find myself staring, and I can't help it.
Yes, everybody.
So find out that when the class finally gets started, we all have to line up in alphabetical order. And so we were lined up, and then every sixth person was
Captain.
the captain of that group.
And they both had M names.
And my name was M, and I didn't know what her last name was, but I knew her name was Becky. So I was always responsible to know that she was there, and
He took roll, in other words.
yeah, every time when we started to pick a partner, I'd try to be the first one to pick her. And we would dance together, we'd talk, then sometimes we'd walk after the class, walk to our next class.
We were in the same building.
Yeah, and so we'd talk, but I never asked her out or anything. I was still,
He was dating someone else.
well, I was, but I still wasn't over a bad breakup. So I wasn't looking for anything serious. But then when I was serious, then all I knew was her name was Becky. She had told me she was from California, and I knew her name had to be between Moss and Peterson, which
You were
was
in the class that you were before.
was another girl in the class that I knew because she was the roommate of a girl I had dated. So I got out the student directory and I looked for,
In that time, you could look up anybody, and
yeah,
it had home addresses. Surprised it didn't have social security numbers.
and I went through, and between Moss and Peterson, I found one Becky and two Rebeccas. And then I went over to the Wilkinson Center, and on the desk right there out in the open is a microfiche card with every student and their schedule. So
No more, but
I pull out this Becky Millett's card and look up her class and found out she had a religion class in this building right next to the Science Center. So it was easy for me to go over there, and I just stood outside the classroom and figured, well, if I recognize her coming out, I'll know it's the right one. So I wait until after class, and the door opens and students start pouring out, and Becky comes straight across the hallway and runs into me and takes off down the hall. I go, wow,
I guess
that was
that's her.
obvious. So then I called her up, and the rest is history.
And that's why I refused to take a dance class for a long time.
you were afraid you'd meet your someone.
Yeah, and I just wasn't ready to meet anybody at the time. When I decided, fine, I wanna take a dance class, then it was different.
First thing I did at college was take a dance class. Not to meet someone, but to dance class.
Cause you wanted to dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed my dance classes, but I didn't need a guy.
Well, I took the dance class. I really don't know why.
PE credit?
Probably easy PE credit. But I figured, what better? You get to dance with her, you get to hold her, you get to smell her. Yeah.
You took a class so I could smell girls.
Well, yeah, if you just walk up behind him and smell him, it's weird. But
Yeah.
you know, if you're
It's a
holding him in
normal
their
social-
arms,
social
it's not as weird.
You're not obvious about it.
Yeah, don't go.
Hey, being from Wisconsin,
You don't smell like manure.
yeah, you want to make sure they don't smell like manure.
I also like that story of how you just showed up at mom's parents' house for Christmas break and just didn't leave.
Yeah, we'd probably
And you
been on a
weren't
couple
dating.
of dates.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't steady or anything. I was
No.
dating other people
He didn't give her his pin.
and no. Didn't do pins.
Yeah, I showed up a couple
Well, I asked.
days before Christmas or
I
something.
asked him what he was, I mean, mostly just for conversation, you know, what are your plans for Christmas? I'm going home, you know, to California and be with my family. What are your plans? Are you going home to Wisconsin, you know, and be with your family? And he's like, no, I think I'm gonna go visit a friend, you know, that's in California too. I might stop by and see you or something, you know, like that. So he shows up and
He's like trying to find somebody going to California. I gotta go see this girl.
well, he didn't know where I lived other than an address, and it's just Craig Place. And so it's not like here where you can just, you know, go to the address, and so he has to stop and get directions from somebody, and that alone is hard for him. And
Asking for directions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to Davis, okay. And then,
you know, they didn't have GPS back then.
no. I had my Barracuda.
And he stayed a couple days, and then I'm like, so are you gonna go see your friend or what? You know?
He's like, what friend?
Why are you,
oh yeah.
why are you still here?
Yeah, I'm surprised her parents didn't throw me out. But I did rate a line in Margaret's life story.
History.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, it better be the right one. But the rest is history. We've been married for over 42 years. And still going strong. I still haven't left her side.
You gonna go visit your friend yet?
He has no friends except you now. And what's his face? The guy with the bald head.
Bill.
Yeah, Bill Tishner.
Alright. Well, thank you very much.
No more questions?
Not on the paper. Just a whole bunch of them. And more. Pretty awesome.
I had, my muscle car was a 65 Barracuda.
Yeah, everything for her is spicy right
Oh,
now.
interesting things.
When I got the Barracuda, it had a little V8 in it and brawny transmission and rear end, and it was a fast little car, but wasn't powerful enough. So I took the engine, the transmission, and everything out, replaced it with a bigger engine, a positive traction rear end, heavier transmission, had to get a custom drive shaft made to fit it all together. And then it became a hot car. I could burn both back tires quite easily.
And they're like, why would you want to?
That was the thing back then.
Well, it still kind of is a thing, except you can't do it as well in modern cars.
Yeah,
Hard to get traction control.
Yeah.
and it's harder to do with four-wheel drive too.
Dan liked to do that in his crappy car in high school. I remember because he drove me home.
I've been able to do it by Z.
I'm thinking of the name of the car.
I remember one time
Firebird?
Jason
Bird.
got a ticket.
Is that a car? Firebird?
Yeah, that was a fun.
I think that's it then.
Jason got a ticket driving the little Plymouth Champ,
Oh yeah.
and the policeman who gave him the ticket was making a left turn
Behind, or in front of him.
in front of him, saw him out of his mirror out the back window, and Jason was airborne through the intersection in the Plymouth Champ.
And it wasn't even a hill, it was just flat intersection. How did you go airborne?
Yeah. And this was at noon in the middle of traffic.
He said it was, and he put down too fast for conditions. It was dry, there was no rain, no snow.
Yeah, and it was lunchtime traffic. I mean, and there were cars ahead of and behind him. So we went to court, and the judge is sitting there listening to this and listening to the cop, and the cop is saying, "Well, he was airborne through the intersection." What were you driving? Little broken down Plymouth Champ? The judge says, case dismissed.
Yeah, but that officer got a talk to you afterwards.
Good thing the judge knew his cars. Or he would know.
Well, I
He
mean,
probably
it's-
also knew the cop.
Yeah.
he also knew that, you know, high school kids, they're all wanting to get to the
And get back to
get
school.
lunch and stuff.
Dan got a reckless driving ticket, not because a cop saw him and pulled him over, because I was with him when he, but someone saw him and called the police, and the police ticketed him because of that. And
Wow,
I'm like, how do you know it wasn't just someone who
had a vendetta.
had it? Yeah, because it was just hearsay, and I was with him, and he actually did it.
Yeah.
He drove on the side of a dirt thing recklessly. So he did do it, but I thought it was stupid that he didn't get pulled over. No cop saw him. It was just someone complaining.
Well, that's all I'm doing.
That was stupid.
He also got a ticket. He was, I guess, down near where, down in the big parking area behind Olive Garden down there where Food for Less and
Oh,
that used to be. And you know, they have aisles that you're supposed to drive down and park.
Yeah.
Well, the parking lot was empty, so he was cutting across the parking spots and not following down the aisle.
Oh, yeah, that late.
Yeah, he got a ticket for illegal lane change
Through a parking lot.
in a parking lot with nobody in it.
Who is this? Jason again?
Yeah.
Yeah, Provo and Orem cops make up reasons to give tickets.
I don't know. I like them on Facebook. I like the cops now. Sometimes, like when I was here and they did those things, it was kind of dumb. But I like the cops now. They do a lot of cool things. They're really nice.
I got a ticket for speeding on food.
Did you hear about there's this restaurant next to Deseret Book, about, I forgot what it was called, but it was a sports bar, and one
Iggy's?
time, what?
Was it Iggy's?
Iggy, I think it was. Is that there still?
Over
No.
there by Shopko.
Right, yeah, it was Iggy's then. Some customer went in there and they had a thin blue line sticker on their car, and they went in there, and the server refused to serve them because they're like, I don't agree with that. I think cops are the devil, and they're so abusive and they abuse their powers, and I don't agree with what your sticker says on your car, and so I'm gonna refuse to serve you. And somebody recorded like this whole thing, and the guy's like, that's ridiculous. Get me your manager. I want to be served. That's a matter of opinion. And you went out and saw my car, this bumper sticker on my car, and now you're refusing to serve me? I'm not making a big deal out of it. And so the manager came over and he's like, what's wrong? This guy won't serve me because I support cops. And he's like, well, he's entitled to his opinion. And it's really rude of you not to accept that. And it's just like, he's refusing to serve me. And somebody caught this on tape and like released it. And there was like, you know, Orem, nowadays anyway, everybody loves the cops. Everybody supports the cops. We're a very pro-cop environment. And everybody refused to go to Iggy's anymore. And they shut down. They had to close their doors like within the week that happened.
I didn't know that's why they
Within the month.
closed.
Yeah. Everybody protested Iggy's and they closed down so fast.
Good.
Yeah.
Did you hear about when Oprah was, she was like, I don't know, in Europe or something, and she went into this real fancy store.
Oh.
Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
And they refused, they refused. She asked to see something, and the cashier said, you can't afford this, or something like that.
To Oprah.
Yeah, obviously not knowing, she's just a black lady, you know, not knowing who she was. And so she, I don't know if she sued or they got the girl fired or something, but it's like, wow.
Yeah, Oprah.
She could buy the store if she wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, just let them see it, like, it's how you do it.
Yeah, at worst, they run out of the store with it, and those high-end stores have cameras. Cops are around there all the time. You know, it's not going to come out of your paycheck, most likely. I don't know about other.
Well, it was probably just somebody that was very bigoted.
Yeah, super
Yeah,
snobby.
just because she's, you know, this black lady, Obviously, you can't afford it.
Considering how everybody's obsessed with Oprah, even outside the US, it's surprising.
Yeah. You have enough fodder, or
Oh. It's very juicy.
do you want to hear about my poor childhood? Not even a place to buy pizza in our town.
Tell me all about it.
walk around either.
You're gonna remember it all? You didn't write anything down? Oh, you're recording it, okay.
You're
Good,
just like, okay.
all right.
Well, how'd you get into machines? Stuff like that.
How to get into machines?
He had a father.
I had a father.
Yeah. Well, when we lived with Archie and Margaret for, what was it?
5 months or something.
Yeah, I had 3 third grade classes.
Anyway, we left New York, went to California, and
I think it was like from October until April or something, whatever that is,
Like 6 months.
6 months.
but anyway, while I was there, I basically was trying to get a job, but you can't do that 24/7, so
Keep him busy.
to keep busy, we made rocking horses, and I made some heads for the machines. Archie showed me where the stuff was, and so I cut them out and welded them together, and he liked the way I welded. He says, "You weld like I wish I could." So he was impressed. And years later, when he was about 80 or something, he decided he didn't want to make machines anymore, so he was gonna just let the business die. And we said, well, can we take it over?
And at the time, my brother had expressed an interest too,
Yeah, but
Brett?
Steve.
Oh, Steve.
But, and I guess Steve knew how to weld some, but, he was gonna have us, or Steve do all the ones from California, and us do the others. And we took off with it. I mean, we were gonna let Steve have those, but he never did anything.
yeah. So we,
Because he raised bulldogs and made lots of money that way.
He was what?
He raised bulldogs and got lots
Oh.
of money from the puppies.
Well,
Maybe?
that's a side thing, but, I mean, he had a job too, and he had a, garden, what is it, a lawn care thing that he did, especially in the summer, but they did things in the winter too. And
Yeah.
there in California,
well, he could do pruning and things all year round.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, and so he had that on evenings or Saturdays, and he really didn't have time.
And Brett was interested for a bit, but he wanted to farm it out and have other people build them and he would sell them or something.
Something like that.
But the first year, I think we only made about 1 or 2.
Well, I think a lot of people thought that it had died.
Yeah,
And Dad may have even told him that, you know, he's gonna stop making them. And so when they finally found out that, you know, we had taken the business, it took a few years, but
yeah.
took off
And
again.
at first, we decided we'd make brochures and send it around to people who had bought before, and
The problem is you send a brochure to a company, some of them just went to the company, some went to a person. But it would come back to us saying, this person doesn't work here anymore. Well, we don't care, you know? But even those with of the company, it's like all of them came back.
That's why you say or current resident.
Well, I tried to send it to a position, you know, like manager or, but they just kept coming back, and so finally we just gave up on that one and
Yeah.
made a website.
Yeah, we got a company that gave us kind of a skeleton of a website, and we filled in
Blanks.
pieces.
Squarespace?
What?
Squarespace?
No, Squarespace.
No,
It's just a website thing, I think. No,
no,
it's,
it was, what was it?
at the time it was called Onyx. Now it's called Rain something. R-A-I-N.
Yeah, they just gave us basically an outline and,
And helped us set up an email on it, and,
yeah,
you know, business email, and
but we took pictures and wrote descriptions and stuff.
the website is what really started selling things.
People could search and.
Well, people that have never heard of us could search and inquire, like the lady we're building for now.
Yeah,
Her email is, I can't remember her name, but it's at milabeauty.com, and we're like, what does a beauty shop want with this?
Have to finish it.
Yeah.
All the real Girl Scouts.
finally, I wrote back to her and said, ask her, well, who do you represent, you know?
What are you gonna do with the machine?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't wanna just send one to somebody that might be a front for the
Yeah, Andy.
Chinese or something. Yeah,
But she explained it.
we had a company call us once from India or something that says, or send us an email. It would cost too much to ship your machine to India. Why don't you just send us all your plans and things and we will make our own?
Just hand it over.
No.
And I'm like, what kind of idiots do you think we are?
Hey, they
Oh,
gotta
sure,
try
yeah,
that.
we'll do that. No problem.
You guys have Legos all over your house.
Yeah.
These little ones.
Yes.
I know, I keep finding them. Keep picking them up.
Niece and nephews.
We found
Dave
one of
likes Legos.
Aaron's micro Legos once.
Downstairs, she took it.
Oh,
The
yeah.
one that was on the bed.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Dad found it. It was on your carpet.
I
I would've
thought I
vacuumed.
got them all, but
I would have
they're
vacuumed
really
it up.
small.
It was about, what, 5/16 of an inch long?
Actually, I probably had already vacuumed by the time you found it. I think it just kind of vacuumed over the top of it.
It was too small, it got caught in it, in the carpet.
Yes, we gotta go. Gotta go put Daddy to bed.
Bye.